how she started it and how she's, all the challenges she's had throughout developing this product and her plans for the future. So, Rachelle, thank you so much for coming.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me. So my name is Rachelle. I am the founder of Lacuna Kitchen, and I make Alchemy Delights seed cycling bars. So I'll explain a little bit what my product is, and then I'll kind of unfold the story of how I got to where I am. So seed cycling is a method of eating a combination of seeds according to your menstrual cycle. And cycle syncing is a method of adjusting your lifestyle according to your menstrual cycle. So I've created an all-encompassing system which guides women through their cycle. It guides them nutritionally with the bars, and also through emotionally through the cycle syncing calendar that's included in the box. So seed cycling and cycle syncing is actually ancient. It comes from traditional Chinese medicine, and it comes from Ayurvedic medicine. So I did not invent seed cycling, but I created a easy to use product. So there's nothing like it on the market, and I will explain how I got to this. So I grew up in Ottawa in a French Canadian family in the 80s, and then I was a teenager in the 90s. And in the 90s, I discovered raves. Raves were underground music events with DJs and whatnot. And so at about 17, 18, a handful of friends and I created a production company. And we started booking DJs and throwing events, and that's where I really discovered my love of of business, essentially. I really enjoyed all the behind the scenes things, like finding a location. I really enjoyed planning the flyers, designing the flyers, all of those things I really, really enjoyed doing. So I think that's really where I started to develop my my interest in business. So at that time, I also started working in restaurants, being a server. I learned so many important lessons working in that field. Also, it exposed me to different foods and whatnot. And at the age of about 21, I had saved enough money from serving that I decided to go travel. And I traveled to Australia. I spent a year in New Zealand, Hawaii, all working in restaurants and cafes, and exploring sort of what the country had to offer, while also learning, you know, how restaurants work and whatnot. And so then I continued to travel throughout my 20s, and I decided to go to England. And there was a bit of a music scene there that I really enjoyed. And I found myself in Brighton, England, which is in the south of England. And I challenged myself to set up my own life on my own, not knowing anybody. And within 6 months, I had 2 jobs. I worked in a vegetarian cafe, I worked in a hostel, and not only that, in 6 months, I had made enough connections, I networked, I knew enough people that were DJs, musicians, that I could throw a monthly music event. And so within 6 months of being in England, had my 2 jobs, and I also had a club night. It was small, local, but you know, it just rolled over, and that lasted about 1.5 years. Again, I was developing all of those skills of networking, of collaborating, of putting together projects, flyers, marketing. And back then, it was literally, we didn't have Instagram, we didn't have Facebook, so it was literally posters in laundry facilities. It was on, you know, wherever we could find, it was posters and flyers. And, you know, speaking with people as they came out of clubs and whatnot. So I explain this because, again, it demonstrates my love of creating and organizing and launching something. So I ended up studying while I was in England. I decided to study photography because I knew that I saw things differently than others. I knew that I had different perspective, and I enjoyed, I always had just a different way of looking at things. And actually, I'd like to intercept and kind of give you a bit of a visual. I have a photograph of when I was about 6 years old. And in this one photograph, it kind of really explains who I am really at a deep kind of, my essence, right? So this photograph has all these little girls in black leotards, and they're all, you know, crawling on the floor, and we were told to crawl around and whatnot. But this image is a bunch of little girls in black leotards all clumped up together, and here I am on the outside with a blue leotard and doing my own thing. And so for me, that really has demonstrated who I am throughout all these years. I don't need to be center of attention, but I do like to give a different perspective, and I do like to do things differently. I say that because this leads to creating a product that's completely different than others. So I studied a couple of years in photography in England, and in doing that, I met my husband as well. He was from Brazil. We met on the beach, as you do. And after my studies, we decided to move back to Canada. Because England it's quite difficult to make your way, and Brazil as well, and we realized that Canada was really our best option. So when I came back to Ottawa, I had to establish myself. I was newly, you know, a new photographer, and within a few weeks of arriving, I landed a job at one of the top studios in Ottawa. And so I became the an assistant. I became the one of the main photographers. We did all sorts of commercial photography, portrait photography, you know, we did it all. So I really learned a lot of, you know, Photoshop, design. I was responsible for all the post-production for this studio. So I put together albums, I became a Photoshop expert, and I just really loved the multifaceted, you know, so many different tasks that I was required to do within photography. From creating albums to photoshopping to printing to shooting. I love the production side of things, and just having a variety of tasks to do. So I continued to work as a photographer for about 5 years. And in that time, I became a mother. And so when I gave birth to my son, I ended up in the hospital for about a month. I was very ill. My child was fine, but I was stuck in the hospital bed, essentially contemplating life. And when your freedom is taken away from you in that way, you really, really think about what's important to you in life. I remember looking out of the window much like this and just thinking all I wanted to do is go out there and be part of the world. And here I was in a hospital bed just thinking life is really, really short, right? Things can happen like that. And I kind of made a promise to myself at that point. And I decided that I would choose happiness. I would choose happiness over everything. And I've kind of carried on with that mentality because life is really short. And so I went back to the studio. My baby was about 5 months old and dropped him off at daycare, made my way there, and it was a lot. And so it was about a year and a half after giving birth that I said, I'm not happy. And the reason was I really wanted to spend that time. I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to take care of my child. So my husband, being a new immigrant and newly hired, he said, no problem, quit, we'll figure it out. One income, one small income. And we thought, you know what? Happiness is more important. So from that day, I left my job, I left my career in photography, and I became a stay-at-home mom. And it was the best of time, and it was the worst of time. Being a stay-at-home mom, as you've heard, is the hardest job on the planet, and it truly is. So if I could do that, I could do anything. And so baby number 2 came along. I was able to be a full-time mom. Again, I was so grateful for the opportunity. But then a few years in, once my child was off to school, I was contemplating re-entering the workforce. But as a mom of 2, I wanted a job that would cater to motherhood. And what I discovered is that there are none. So I had to create my own job. And the point of that was I was always going to be a mom first. My kids came first, and then the job, and then the career, and then the whatever, then the business. So that was always at the heart of why I created my own job, why I created my own business, because I wanted it on my own terms. Was it easier? No. I haven't had a paycheck since that day I left the studio. But that was the decision that I made, to always choose happiness and always choose my children first. And there aren't many jobs out there that will offer you those standards. So, like I said, I started thinking about what I wanted to do, and it had to do with food. I was fascinated by food, and so I started just learning about business, educating myself. And I started by doing small courses online. I did courses on social enterprises, because I wasn't just gonna create a business I needed to create a business that had a soul, that had a purpose. And I knew that that's how I would be driven, right? And social enterprises have a goal, they have a mission to, whatever that may be. So I just went down the rabbit hole of researching and creating a food business and learning as I went, doing little courses here and there. I even took courses, there's Invest Ottawa, they have free classes. So I was all about just educating myself. And as I was developing this food business, completely different food business, I started experiencing really, really bad hormonal cramps. And for completely different reasons, I started to ingest coconut oil in my coffee, right, for my dry skin. What I didn't expect were the results. So after just 2 weeks of ingesting coconut oil in my coffee, I noticed my cramps were completely gone in 2 weeks. And I thought, what is in coconut oil that my body needed to be healthy and to not have, cramps, essentially. So there I was, again, researching. I went to the library. There's a whole book on coconut oil and oils, good oils, bad oils. And I was like, yeah, I was so interested in that and just, what coconut oil can do for you. And that just led me from one book to the other, from nutrition to health to women's health. And I just craved knowledge, and I just consumed knowledge completely on my own terms. I didn't enter a classroom. I was completely self-taught. And so eventually I stumbled upon seed cycling. And it reminded me that I had attended, when I was back in England 20 years ago, I had attended a workshop that a colleague of mine was hosting about food that helps support women's menstrual cycles. And I remember at the time, my friend said, Rachelle, you probably don't need this now, but one day you'll thank me. And as I learned about seed cycling, I was reminded that I had a printout from all those years ago, and I ran up to my closet, I picked up my red folder, wiped off the dust, and I pulled out these 20-year-old printouts, which I still have to this day. And it was food, referring to food that supports women's hormonal health. And so I wasn't able to keep developing my old business idea. I was like, something was telling me to stop. And so I took a completely different turn in developing a business. And when I looked into seed cycling, I decided to also see if there was a product out there that made it easy, because this is something that you have to eat every single day. And you have to grind the seeds freshly every single day. And you have to find a way to enjoy eating this mix of seeds. And so when I started, I was grinding the seeds and trying to figure out how to eat them. And it wasn't very user-friendly. And when I researched online to see if there was any product on the market, I noticed there was absolutely nothing. There was nothing out there that was ready-made, easy, simple, tasty, and convenient to take away and eat. The businesses that I did find they were selling the seeds on their own, either ground up or not, and that's all that was out there. So when I tried seed cycling for myself, I discovered how effective it was. So I thought, is it really that simple to just eat a combination of seeds and see all these symptoms of unbalanced hormones dissipate, right? So as I researched and as I learned that when I tried these seeds, they really did help with a lot of symptoms, right? Breast tenderness, cramps, PMS, all of these things dissipated. And so my business development completely changed, and I focused solely on Alchemy Delights and creating this product. So I developed 4 different recipes. And although I'm very creative in the kitchen, I've never invented an actual recipe. So it was all trial and error. And I was making portions, and then I had a handful of women that were on a trial run with me. So I would deliver, you know, the recipes that I was developing. I gave these women the bars because they had the proper dosage in the bars. So what that did was that I had testimonials, right? I had women trying these out for 3, 4, 5 months. Again, as I'm developing recipes, and they were kind of giving their feedback, saying, oh, maybe there's a little bit too much of this or a little bit of that. And my recipes, I took probably a year and a half to really refine the recipe, because as I tried to make one maybe a little bit less sweet, remove a little bit of honey or whatnot, you remove just a dash of something and everything in the recipe changes, right? So the texture changes, everything. And so a lot went into creating these recipes, even from one bar to the next, one flavor to the next. Grinding the seeds have to be different than the next because of this consistency. So there's a lot that just went into the recipes, right? So as I developed this product, I had trial runs with women, and as they were tasting them, they were giving me feedback. And then I stopped giving them samples. It had been, 5 months and whatnot. And I had reports, actually 2 months later, 3 months later, I had these women comment back that it was really when they stopped taking these bars every day that they noticed all these symptoms come back, right? So it was, you get used to feeling good. Women didn't even notice when they were gonna menstruate again because there was no cramps or no PMS. But when they stopped eating the bars every day, they started to see all these symptoms come back. So I knew I was onto something. And so I started developing this back in 2020. So it's been about 5 years now. And because of my history in design and photography, and even my background in food, in the food industry, and actually if you look back at all my experiences, these were all interests, and they were all interests and also my experience from many years prior to actually creating this product. So as I said, I started to research, and I connected all the dots, and I even had a wall at home in my kitchen. I had notes, and I looked like a crazy scientist because I had this visual on my wall that just, when I learned something, I would stick to the wall and then I would connect dots, and you know, it looked crazy, but it really helped me develop my product and develop everything. And so, as I said, seed cycling is eating a mix of seeds, and cycle syncing is adjusting your lifestyle according to your menstrual cycle. So as I developed and as I researched, I gained a lot of knowledge and understanding on how to support your cycle beyond just nutrition, right? So that's where the cycle syncing calendar was created. Again, I did not invent cycle syncing, but I did create the calendar with all my knowledge, all the research that I did. I wanted to create a calendar color-coded that was easy for women to understand and to learn and to absorb all the knowledge that I had absorbed throughout the years. And so on the calendar, I think, did you guys pass it around? Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah, perfect, thank you. So on the calendar, there are suggestions of the different energy levels that you're gonna see throughout your cycle. And actually, I'll explain it, kind of how it works a little bit better. So winter is when we menstruate. That's the beginning of a woman's cycle. It's her first day of her bleed, right? So that's the first day she would start this box, is day 1, winter, when she starts to bleed. And there's also a calendar in the box, right? And so women not only have the nutritional aspect, they also have the knowledge that they can kind of embrace in their own lives, such as, like I said, different energy levels. There's also suggestions of exercise and certain foods that you should eat or how you should cook them and all of that, because women have a 28-day cycle, right? So we are hormonally different every single day. So our bodies need different nutrients, different emotional support, different, we have different needs every single day. Men have a 24-hour cycle, right? Men wake up in the morning, loads of testosterone, you go through your day, by 3 or 4, that testosterone drops. By then, you're ready to go home, sit on the couch, relax, do whatever, and then, you know, this next day, you're the same again. You've got all this testosterone in the morning, you go through 24 hours, same every day. Women, we're different every single day. And so this is not only crucial information for women, it's also very important for men to understand. So not only for women, super important for men to understand. You're gonna have girlfriends, you're gonna have kids one day, there's 50% of the population that menstruate, okay? So this gives men a lot of understanding on how we are made up, our needs as well. So there are 28 bars in one box, and like I said, they're designed to support women every single day of their cycle. So you can compare the different phases in a cycle to the seasons in nature. So like I said, winter is when we menstruate. Spring is your follicular phase, which is green. So they're color coded, and so are the bars, right? Red, winter, menstruate. Spring is green, that's your follicular phase, spring. And then summer is when we ovulate, okay, that's in yellow. And fall is your luteal phase. That is the week before you start to bleed again, okay? So what does this knowledge do for women is that they have a better understanding of their energy levels throughout the month, right? So, for example, for my own business, I have behind my desk, I have a color-coded notes with the various tasks that I do within my business. And they're color-coded according to where I should do them within my cycle, right? Red, green, yellow, and orange. And what that does is when you actually do a certain task within the right season of your cycle, for example, in spring, which is your follicular phase, okay, that's when your energy starts to come back up, your creativity comes back up, things are flowing, things are happening. For me personally, in follicular, that's when I would do some design work. That's when I would type my blogs. That's when I would do like creative work, right? So when you tune into that, that task becomes so much easier to accomplish, right? So the week before your next bleed, your luteal phase, you got high energy at the beginning of the week. I want to organize stuff. I want to organize my closet, my workspace. And then midweek, I might have a nap on the couch, you know, because my energy levels are going down. So when women understand the various energies they're going to encounter in their cycle, you can kind of plan around it, right? You can't plan perfectly. You can't do all the tasks according to your cycle, but the big things you can kind of plan for. For example, again, when I ovulate in summer, that's the time that I might record my podcast. I might interview someone, or that's my very social, my social time, right? So I'm super social, talkative. So that gives you a good idea of why I created this product and all the information that comes with it. And now I'd love to share some of the mistakes that I've done along the way. And I have a monumental mistake that I've done. There's been about 1,000 gazillion million of them along the way, but this is truly a big one. And it's always good to share your mistakes so that other people can learn from them, right? So this one costed me thousands. At the beginning of COVID, I signed up to, it was a government-led program to support entrepreneurs throughout COVID. My business, I was just at the very beginning, and I got accepted because the woman thought it was a really interesting concept. So I had a mentor, and essentially, through the time together, I kept telling her, I have to get into a commercial kitchen, I have to make my product in a commercial kitchen, because I was sure I had researched it and that was what I needed to do. And she reassured me many, many times. She's like, why do you keep saying you have to do this in a commercial kitchen? This is just like making jam. You can make jam in your kitchen and sell it. It's okay, you can make this at home. And I thought, I'm sure I saw in my research that I have to do this in a commercial kitchen. But I thought she knew better than me, right? I thought, well, this woman has had her own business and she's reassuring me I can do this in my home. And I was a stay-at-home mom and I thought, perfect, I can make this in my basement, I can make this at home, great. Even though I had seen many times I had to make this in a commercial kitchen. But when she said, no, you can just make up a little space in your basement and it's just like jam, she said. So I thought, great. Okay. Well, I'll build myself a little production room in my basement. So we gathered materials, we put up drywall, we put tiles on the floor. I hired electricians, I hired plumbers, and I made a very small production room in my basement, only like 95 square foot, very small. But I had everything. I had a big mixer, I had all the material that I needed to produce these bars. So when I went to the city, to the municipality to get a license, I walked in, I said, I'm here for my business license, and they're like, okay, well, what commercial kitchen do you work from? I said, I don't. I've just built a little production room in my basement. And they said, absolutely not. You have to create this in a commercial kitchen. So when I left, I was not very happy. I had just spent a few months, you know, my dad helping me, my husband, like it was a big production. And when I left, I was told I cannot produce these bars in my basement. So needless to say, I was quite upset when I left that office. And the moral of the story is, I thought she knew better than me. I thought she knew my business better than me. And any decision that you make in business is your own. There's nobody else to blame, right? So that was my mistake in thinking that someone else knew my business better than me. I put faith into her when I knew I had researched this, and I knew I had to make this in a commercial kitchen. But I thought she knew better, and so the moral of the story is check 3 times, 4 times, even 5 times if you need to. And the reason I need to make these in a commercial kitchen is because this is a municipal licensing. So if I lived in Carp, I could probably make this in my home in a production room. But in Ottawa, the licensing is any food product you have to make in a commercial kitchen. Even though my production room is cleaner than the commercial kitchen, it is spotless. But in these commercial kitchens, they have, you know, people that come and check everything, and that's just how the Ottawa municipality insists on food products being made in a commercial kitchen. So that was my ginormous mistake, and it was very costly, but it didn't stop me. I mean, I knew I was gonna encounter many more mistakes, and every time I make a mistake, I learn something new, and so nothing is lost, right? Even with a big costly mistake, you learn along the way. So that was one of my many mistakes. Trial and error is a big component in being an entrepreneur. And I'm just figuring things out as I go. You know, I'm self-taught, and I do, and I figure it out along the way. So, I think I'm going to explain how I see this business in the future. My vision for the future is I see this as very far-reaching, right? So not only is it a product, I also think it's a lifestyle, right? So tuning into your menstrual cycle, and I believe that if young girls had this information at a young age, I think society would be quite different today, right? So something that I'm really looking forward to is to educate younger women in understanding their cycles before they get launched into the world, right? So imagine if you yourself had this knowledge of your cycles, how they work, how to best support yourself, how would that influence your life today? So that's something that I've posed. It's a question that I posed in my podcast. I launched a podcast and I chatted with some of my clients. I chatted with naturopaths. Naturopaths actually suggest seed cycling to women. So I wanted to target naturopaths so that they know that there's a product that they can suggest to their clients, right? So long term, I would love to educate more people on this subject. And also, I see this company growing and expanding into potentially other products, right? Because I can see that not only the bars, but there could be other products that could be developed to go along with this system, right? Something that I didn't mention about the bars is that not only do they have the exact dosage of the seeds, okay? I've also chosen ingredients that will deliver the nutrition women need exactly when they need it. So, for example, and again, that was through my own research of, my keen interest in nutrition and whatnot. I learned how women's bodies work and also what kind of nutrients she needs at that precise time. So for example, winter, okay, which is when we menstruate, winter has flax seeds and pumpkin seeds, tablespoon of each. Okay, and those are the four seeds of seed cycling are flax seeds and pumpkin seeds the first 2 weeks of your cycle, and the last 2 weeks are sesame seeds and sunflower seeds. And so in winter, when we menstruate, okay, actually I'll explain how seed cycling works. The seeds themselves, so the flax seeds are phytoestrogens, right? So it mimics estrogen, but it comes from a plant. And what flaxseed does within our cycle is that if we have too much estrogen at the beginning of our cycle, the flax seeds, it's a lignin, it will actually take the estrogen and remove it if you have too much. If you don't have enough estrogen in your body, it will actually boost it naturally, right? Same at the end of your cycle. Now we're dealing with progesterone. At the end of your cycle, in your luteal phase, if you have progesterone going up and down, that's when you will encounter PMS, right? All of these symptoms. So when you have seeds that support progesterone levels, it will keep progesterone levels just from doing this and kind of stabilize, preventing you from experiencing PMS. So all these symptoms, they're, breast tenderness, cramps, they are symptoms, right? It's your body telling you that something's out of balance. So 80% of women are actually hormonally out of balance, right? So and society has kind of accepted that we have all of these symptoms and that it's normal to have cramps and it's normal, but it's not. So they are, like I said, they are symptoms of something that is a little bit off in your cycle, right? Like hormonal acne, all of these things are clues. Our bodies are telling us that something's a little bit off. And so these seeds, it's the seed oil the oils inside, that really is the magic, right? It's those really beneficial oils that will, like I said, either boost your estrogen or remove it, boost your progesterone, just make that, you know, constant flow of progesterone so that you're not gonna encounter PMS. So again, coming back to the ingredients, a lot of women crave chocolate when they go into their, when they menstruate. But it's actually the magnesium that they're craving. Their bodies are looking for magnesium. You get magnesium in chocolate, and that's why you think you want chocolate. But I've included cacao, organic cacao, in this bar. And this bar actually has 25.5% magnesium, right? So you want chocolate, it's the magnesium. This offers you the magnesium. Spring has flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, it has prunes, it has dates, it has cinnamon. Cinnamon naturally regulates blood sugar levels. What does that mean? It means that you're not gonna have sweet cravings, right? Cinnamon helps with that. So in summer is when we ovulate, okay? This has goji berries in it. So goji berries have 10 times more vitamin C than an orange. And what I discovered after including goji berries in the bar, I discovered that vitamin C supports ovulation. So I didn't even know it, but I just instinctively threw in some goji berries in there, and there you go. Vitamin C supports ovulation, something that I learned along the way after I included the ingredient in the bar. So fall is that week before you start to bleed again, and that is your luteal phase. Fall has apricots in it, and apricots have a high level of iron. So remember, that's the week before you're gonna start to bleed again. So this supports blood health, right, with the iron. So as you can see, not only have I included all the seeds that you need, I've also combined it with beneficial ingredients, right? The nutrients that you really need precisely when you need it in your cycle. So there was a lot I wanted to say about this product to my potential clients, right? But as a food product, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Not at all.
Were there other ingredients that you put in?
That are in the bars?
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, if you look on the back here, I have all the ingredients at the bottom. I'll pass this over to you in a minute. Actually, I'll pass that to you now.
Wow, that minute passed by really quickly.
There you go. So yeah, the ingredients are on the back here, and also, so let me finish my thought. As a food producer, I cannot make any health claims like I've just made here by explaining how seed cycling work, right? With the estrogen and phytoestrogen. As a food product, I can't say any of that in my marketing. There's nothing on my packaging that talks about hormones. There's nothing. So, and that was a huge learning curve for me as well, right? I didn't know what I could and could not say about my product. And it took a while for me to realize, and actually in Canada, the only thing you can say about a food product is that it has high levels of fiber, good, you know, whatever it is. Like You can only talk about, you know, the percentage of iron, fiber, all of these things. And there's a certain percentage that you have to require to be able to say very high amount of iron. So how do you transfer knowledge without giving health claims, right? So you kind of have to think outside the box, and how am I going to transfer this information to other people? And as I was learning about this, there was a scientific report that came out that supports seed cycling as an adjacent therapy to PCOS. PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome. I don't know if any of you have heard of that. Yeah. So seed cycling, they've done a scientific report, and it is, you have ultrasounds of women with cysts, and you have after seed cycling, and it's not just seed cycling, it's like they look at health as well. But seed cycling, they've proven, is an adjacent therapy for PCOS, right? So when I learned this, I'm like, that's gotta be on the box, that's gotta be, I've gotta tell everyone about this. But I cannot. I am not a natural health product. Natural health product has to be made in a lab, crushed, dried, made into a pill, and then sold to you with a number, right? So chamomile tea, if it says it helps calm, right? That will actually have a natural health number. They had to apply to be able to have that health claim. But as a food producer, I can't. So this is something that I didn't mention last time in my talk, but I think is so fascinating, is when I was trying to understand all this legislation on what I can and cannot say, and I discovered seed cycling supports PCOS, I was like, how do we transfer that knowledge to clients, right? And so I was part of a group called Canadian Women in Foods. And someone within that group, this is all over Canada, and one of the other members, she designs packaging and she helps clients to word their product within regulation, right? So I worked with her, and she did some research on her side, and what she came up with, because this I did not come up with, but I think is so clever, right? So on your bars, your nutritional facts table, okay? And I had to send my recipes to a lab. They analyzed my recipe, and they sent back this nutritional facts table, okay? And this was kind of like proof of all my theories on on nutrition. And when it came back, we also decided to get the nutrient count done. You don't have to include nutrients on your packaging. But what we did was, at the bottom here, and you're welcome to have a look after, we included the nutrients that women who have PCOS would be looking for in a product. All the nutrients at the bottom here are specifically beneficial with women that have PCOS. So we're not saying this is an adjacent therapy for PCOS, but I am including all the very specific nutrients that women who have PCOS would be looking for, okay? So I'm trying to point out that when you're creating a product, when you're creating something, you always have to look, how can you go around with, staying within regulation, but how can you get your point across within rules and regulations? So I thought that was a super clever way of kind of showing people that this is beneficial for women who have PCOS. I can't put it on the box, but if you have PCOS, you are hyper aware of these nutrients. If you see these nutrients on the box, you're gonna go, oh, those are actually exactly the nutrients I need to support my PCOS. So what I discovered this summer, actually, being at the Parkdale Market, and kind of exposing this product to the public, I was giving out samples and actually noticed that a lot of people that are health conscious, or not even, men, kids, whoever, they were testing and they were really enjoying the flavors. So then I created a whole other kind of, I was selling to people that were just more health conscious and not necessarily people that were buying the box. I did sell boxes as well, but I was selling the bars individually and people were buying loads of them. So I saw a different marketing, a different group kind of emerge, right? So until you're out in the public, there are things that that will emerge as you kind of interact with people and whatnot. Did you have another question?
No, but there is a store that I work with that would that does sell a lot of a lot of products to people who are very health conscious.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you and that product would, the store and you would probably get along very well.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and so that's my next kind of, currently I'm only selling online and I'm also selling in person in markets. Getting a product on a shelf is a whole other
Can of worms.
Absolutely, yeah. So my packaging would have to change, which it will. This is all like prototyping, right? This is a few years ago. Everything is gonna change. But you have to have enough sales, right? Because people who own stores, they only wanna have products in their stores that will bring them a return. They don't want dead product on their shelves. Shelves cost money, right? So for me to get on a shelf, yes, in the long run, that's absolutely where I want to be. But you have to kind of go to the next level, which means your stock has to be much bigger. Your production must be much bigger. And you have to have more clients, right? So my biggest challenge is that there are no other products like this on the market. Nothing like this on the market. So I am left with the challenge of educating people, and so there's a longer curve, right? Because people don't know about seed cycling. Although it is an ancient method, it comes from, Ayurvedic medicine, it is new to the Western world. Not many people know about it. So I am literally at the spear end of this, right? So I don't have products to compare to. Sometimes when you have, let's say you're selling cupcakes, well, you're gonna look at your competition and go, they're selling their cupcakes like this, for that price, in that color. Makes it simple, right? I have no guidance. There's no product like this on the market, so I'm constantly having to figure things out. Nobody else has figured this out yet. Like I said, there's other companies that are selling the seeds, but that's it. So that's one of the biggest challenges, I think, in my product is when you create something completely new, is how do you get it out in the world, right? Well, it's educating, it's speaking to the public and whatnot. But it just, that growth curve is much longer, right? Am I missing something?
No, you've every time you do this, you get a little bit more information in it.
Yeah, it's never gonna be the same, is
So
it?
this would be a good time for questions. I mean, I've got questions.
Yeah.
But no, I'm going to leave it for you guys.
Yeah. Does anybody have questions? Yeah.
So for women who have PCOS, have you had women who had that and did your had your bars before? And did it lower their symptoms and stuff?
Very good question. I actually have not had a client with PCOS yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't had anyone come forward and kind of go, hey, I have this. But there's a lot of research online. You can also, like I said, there's actually, I have a printout of the scientific report if you're interested.
Yeah.
But yeah, good point. No, I don't have clients that have PCOS. Maybe because, like, how do you get that information to the right people, right? Like, because I can't, hey, good for PCOS.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, okay.
So, yeah, there's an issue, right? How do I transfer this knowledge and get it to the right people? So, yeah. So I've tried to kind of let naturopaths know that this product exists, because naturopaths will often work with women that have PCOS. But it's just how do you get exposure? How do you get a product exposure out in the world so that people know? People that have PCOS know that this product helps, because I can't market it that way. So it's like, but yes, good point. I would love to have a client who has PCOS, but the problem is I would not be able to market it that way. I would have to have that person do a testimonial on their own or a review on their own. If it comes from them, great, but I can't. It's complicated, right?
Yeah.
It's like I can't market it as being. So yeah, how do you get those ideal clients?
Okay.
Good question though. Yeah.
Did you do the branding alone, or did you get help for Lacuna Kitchen?
Yeah, so everything that you see here, I have created on my own. To the best of my ability, right? So, the feel, the logo, everything has been created by me, to the best of my ability. So, yes, actually we have some of his classes that are they're working on a branding package. So I know that this needs to be tightened up. The marketing the look needs to be tightened up for sure. But as I'm a bootstrap entrepreneur, I have no investors behind me. I've come up with the money myself. So my philosophy is I'm gonna do as much as I can on my own, the best that I can, get it out there, and then try to get some help along the way. So best I can do so far. And like a website is always evolving, right? It's always getting a little bit better. But no, I had a little bit of help with my website, because just the learning curve was too sharp, and I thought I'll pay someone to help me out. But other than that, other than that woman that helped me with the nutritional value for PCOS, other than that, I've done absolutely everything on my own. So, yeah.
Did Michelle help you with the logo?
Did who?
Michelle, he's a teacher here. He's our digital graphics.
Oh, no, I don't even know Michelle. No, no, I did that myself. Yeah. Yeah. Does anybody else have a question?
Are you aware of Mary Dairy?
I am. Yeah.
Okay, Mary Dairy went through what you went through.
Okay.
They were making all their ice cream in-house.
Yep.
They started sending it off to shops all over Ottawa.
Yep.
Shops in Ottawa were selling them for maybe 2 years until the city found out that they were making them in-house. So they had to shut down. And so
Okay.
all their ice cream now, the ice cream is made in a factory.
Mm-hmm.
They just do the flavorings in-house. Now, if you know Mary Dairy, their flavoring is all natural, right?
Okay.
So they have a unique product.
Yep.
So I just say this to you because they're a much
Interesting.
larger company and
Yep.
they made the same mistake.
Yeah.
My question would be to you, you've lost time, you've lost momentum. How much money did you lose on that?
Me, myself?
Yeah, when you made that kitchen in your basement.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I don't necessarily look at it as a waste,
Okay.
or because I use the space.
Yeah.
So, you know, if I spent all that time beating myself up, I don't know if I would still be here. So you have to pivot real fast and go, okay, I messed up here, but you know what? Now I have a production room. I put my boxes together. I have all my storage. I have this, I have that. So I just have to accept that. So I don't see it as a waste.
Good.
Yeah, I don't see it as a waste
Excellent.
because I have the space now. I put my orders together. I'll put the boxes together. So yeah, it's not wasted.
So you pivoted.
I pivoted. Yeah,
That's it.
great. I can't make my product here. So be it.
Yeah.
I cried for a moment there, but hey, keep going. Pick up my boots and just keep going, because you can't cry over all your mistakes, because there will be thousands of them.
Can you
So
talk about your support group?
my support group.
Yeah.
Ooh, what support group?
Well, you talked about it in the last class.
Did I? What did I say?
Talked about your husband.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, as I said, I was a stay-at-home mom, and my husband is, you know, an immigrant from Brazil who had to establish himself here, and allowed me to, you know, quit my job. And even though he had just started his career, he just said, you do you, you know? And so, yeah, my husband has had my back the entire time. And he even looked at me and he said, listen, as long as you're happy doing this, do it. When you're no longer happy, walk away. And if it doesn't lead to success, so be it, whatever. For someone to support me, whether I'm successful or not, gives me so much power to continue, right? It's not just about the success, it's like, it's my happiness. He will support me. If I'm happy, that's all he cares about. And we're not rich. I come from a one-income household. I have 2 kids. We're 4 people in one household. My husband is an immigrant. We started from 0 when he arrived here. So I come from a very humble background. I don't have my own car. It takes a village to get me just here. I have to borrow my mom's car to get here. I left my kid to his own devices this morning. You do what you gotta do as a mom, as an entrepreneur. So yes, having a supportive husband, I think, is the only way I could have made it this far. If I was a husband that was like, okay, how much did you make this month? How much did I? He has no interest. I haven't had a return on my investment yet, because for me, it's the long game, right? It's my time right now, time, and the way that I see it is one drop in a bucket at a time. And here we are, you know, I haven't had a paycheck in 10, 11 years. That's the reality of it. This is not sexy. This is not get rich quick. This is grit and determination. And sometimes I want that paycheck every 2 weeks. I would love that. But I know that this is important to get out in the world. I know this is important for women to have the knowledge and the product. So that's really, I keep going because I know how important it is to get it out there. So I buy used clothes, I don't go out to dinner, and you know, and that's how I've led my life for the past 10, 15 years or whatever. I choose this over a lot of things.
We're going to tie this into our into our course, okay? Because you've come up with a problem. She encountered a problem. The problem is women's cycles and women having problems with their cycles. You came up with a solution, and now you're trying to produce the solution and sell it out to the world, right?
Yep.
And the solution is to a healthier life. That's it. The bars are just the thing that you're selling. What you're selling is a better lifestyle, right?
I think it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so what's unique with her product that I don't think most of us will encounter when we go to sell a product is she can't really say what these things do. That's a real barrier. And so, you know, got a problem, got a solution, there's a market, there's a large market.
Yep.
The barrier is she can't say this does a
What it
medical
does.
claim. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought this was such a unique, interesting project for my other students, because they have to put something on here that communicates that it does what it does.
Yeah.
And they have to do it graphically and not with words. What a cool project that is, right? Like, okay, I've got to say, what does this one do? This one, reflective, ready for nesting. Okay, some imagery about just thinking, laying back, thinking about life, resting, taking it easy. That's what has to be on this bar, because we can't say that, right? Well, you can. You said that.
Yeah.
But you can't.
I can't make any health claims.
Can't make any health claims.
I can't say this is good, this supports your hormones. I can't say that.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, the other thing was she talked about was making these packages. She has to do this all herself. She prints these, she gets them printed.
Yep.
And then you get these open packages, and then she has to make the bars. She's got to shape the bars, and she's got to put it in here, and she's got to seal them. And these cause a bit of a problem because they stain when they get oil on them. Like these ones don't have it, but you know, if you happen to get any of the food on the outside edge, it stains, right? You get an oil stain. So those are problems that she's encountered in her business. Now I'm going to ask, but I haven't asked you this before. Do you have a business plan?
No, but your last students, in your last class.
I have a student in our other entrepreneurial mindset class who's offered to make you a business plan.
Yes.
And he's an expert in entrepreneurial. He's
that-
written a book on entrepreneurial mindset. I've got a student in my other class who's an expert in the subject matter that I'm teaching. Okay, he speaks Spanish.
Yep.
You speak Portuguese.
I speak Portuguese.
Okay, he speaks Spanish, so he's got a language barrier about getting his book out, and he's now sending me copies of his new book being translated. Like, it's really cool. This guy's got things going, you know? And so he's offered to help you develop a business plan.
Yeah.
What did I say to you guys before? do not start a business without a business plan. You gotta have a business plan. If you don't, you don't know the direction you have to go. Because the ultimate goal, well, there's two goals here. One is to better the world, right? The other is to make money. And when I saw you at the park, I thought, oh, I envision, you probably don't see it the way I do. I see, oh, this going out, this becoming a business where you're no longer packaging things, you're just managing people because it's so big. I can see it all across Canada easily. And I don't know about international, but there's an international market as well, right?
Oh, 100%. So yes, I have seen, right now it's small, but I do see this being international. I do see it.
I see a 6-figure at least business going,
Yeah,
you know? So
sure.
right now she's doing it and it's paying for itself, which is good, but we want to get past that, right? So that's why I also wanted to bring her in, because you guys, somewhere along the line, will probably find, some of you will find yourself in the same situation. Okay, I've got this idea, I've got this product, I've got to get it out, I'm doing it all right now, it's paying for itself, not making any money, and now we need a business plan. Because the business plan will say break down all the costs, and it'll determine how many of these things you have to sell when you're going to make 25,000, 50,000, 100,000. It's going to break it all down like that. You're going to have a plan. So she could go to the bank and say, here's my plan. I need some seed money. Pardon the pun.
But essentially, yes.
Yeah. And you know, when you start these things, you don't use your own money. So you have to have a really good business plan. Yeah, but no, that's normal.
At the beginning,
you're
right?
You're small scale though.
I'm small scale, but yeah, you're right. At this point right now, I feel like I'm on the precipice of the next big step, right? I'm right near new packaging. I'm near, like I'm just, and yes, seed money is definitely something that I should be seeking.
Well, you will be.
And I will be seeking, absolutely.
So you can see how excited I get about this. And now, when you go people to help you, if you have a good product, they'll get excited with you. Like, I want to help you because I see, oh, this has got potential. This has got legs. Let's see it go. And so, yeah, you're getting some help with the business plan. That's great.
Yeah.
But I also just want to make it clear that, you know, as an older guy, when I look at young people, all I want is you guys to succeed. And you as young people don't recognize, I think, that there are people out there who just want to help you. They want to get, once you're young, there are people out there who are older who just want to make sure you're doing okay.
If they see potential.
Yeah, they see the potential.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think I'm in a place in my business where I'm able to say what my product is. You know, my pitch is concise now. But it took me time to get here. I've done training, doing speeches, speaking in front of people.
She's pretty good, eh?
I talk a lot with my hands. I do realize that's something I need to practice too.
No, I got a comment on that.
Did you?
No, I got a comment on this because there's something that she does that's really, really good. So when you're doing your pitches up here, the final projects, everything, her conjunction for everything is and. No, it's good because a lot of people go, or whatever. Instead of her and it's always and so you're being drawn on. It's excellent.
See, I didn't even realize I was
It's
doing
excellent.
that.
It's done well.
And so hence the recording that I'm doing today, it really helps me look and go, wow, your hands are flailing like an idiot, or
No, it's good.
I'm French Canadian, right? So this is how I talk. But so again, I'm self-taught. So anything that I do, I'm gonna either record because I'm gonna learn from it. This experience, I'm gonna learn from it. Nobody is teaching me. It's self-driven. Be self-driven. because nobody else is gonna do it for you. If you want to create something, I used my money because I didn't want to prove anything to anyone. I wanted to do it my way. I'm like, I'm not gonna wait until someone invests in me. I'm gonna invest in myself. I'm gonna move this forward because I believe in me. And then other people start believing in you as well.
Yeah,
Hence,
it's good. Yeah, this is what my students have to hear, because you're at the prefaces right now.
I am.
You're ready to get going.
And I'm 5 years deep. 5 years, okay? This is a slow burn. This is not get rich quick, and like, don't think that creating a product is gonna get you rich overnight, because you're gonna you're gonna struggle. It is I'm 5 years in, and I'm just now selling at markets. And I did it at my speed. I've got young kids. They were my priority. But reality is that this is not quick. This is for me anyhow. It's taken me this long. So, but I do everything myself, right? I actually make the product. I do it all. So, yeah. Any other questions?
Well, we have to sort of tie up now.
Okay, there you
We have
go.
to get ready for the next class to come in, but I hope you agree that it's worthwhile to have someone who's out there doing it, actually doing it, coming in to talk to you. And I just want to thank Rachelle right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If you guys would like to check out my podcast, or please follow me on Instagram. Every little like and subscribe helps. Check out my podcast, my website. Give me a follow. I'd really appreciate it. Okay,
Great.
thank you so much.